to be any type of
yes,
stereotype ever.
yes.
You know
Thank
what I mean?
you.
And all
I
of a
don't
sudden,
mean
you
all
don't know,
people.
and all of a sudden you bump into this guy or girl, you're like, really, man?
Yeah.
And you calm on it, like you realize that you are making it bad for literally every single person of your whatever ilk, you know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, I not only don't care, I'm actually kind of proud of it. It makes me feel better to make things shitty to people. And you're like, well, then you really are a stereotype.
Yeah.
No,
what I mean is like, I went, my ex wanted to be a young Republican, and we went to a young Republican meeting, and you know, I didn't think that they wanted to be stereotypes of Republicans. It never occurred to me that people chose to be like that. Yeah, they're already here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're totally already here. They're already here. Absolutely. They live here. They're right here. But, like, yeah, it just never occurred to me. But these guys were in this meeting, and they were talking about, like, being rich Republicans and only Christian values matter. But in a really fucked up, like, way, like there weren't really Christian values, obviously, you know. It was messed up. Like they were saying every stereotype that you think they would say, and you're like, and they're proud of it. They're just proud of being assholes, kind of, you know. And just a little, I mean, that's on the nice side. On the darker side, you know, you find a lot of good people actually, but you find a lot of good people mixed in with a lot of bad people. And a lot of people who are mostly good and just a little bit horrible, you know, in those kind of areas too. But like, yeah, I mean, I've found in my experience, people want to live out these stories, you know, like, and for instance, another situation, I knew a guy back east in Virginia whose mother and all of his people were backwoods church desecrating Satanists. Okay? Like you say, oh, there are no such people. They exist. There are people who do horrible things out there just because they heard a story about it and they want to do it and they want to make it real. And that's the whole point. Rich people aren't immune to that. People can think they can get together for power situations. It's like a monkey thing to do. It's what monkeys do. If they get together and they form little power alliances, and that's what they do. And that's what our leaders are doing. Because
as I said before, you know, we like to think that our leaders and those in charge are somehow possessed of a more innate quality of fairness or
you want that
justice
to be true.
or decency, you know, that somehow the things that are inherently inimical to all humans are even more so inimical than them. And to a certain extent that is true in terms of their ideals and their values, but, you know, all too often, people who are in those realms are in them because they like power. Because let's face it, it's kind of a pain in the ass. Have you ever been, you know, on a Hollywood set or, you know, in a Library of Congress like that? There's just a lot of smug glad-handing and a lot of chest puffering. For the average person, it's just too much. You don't want any part of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it kind of goes hand in hand with that these people tend to be of great appetites, where the appetite is for the power itself, the money, the prestige, sex. These things all kind of go hand in hand. And what we understand is even within any given individual, any given time, they can vary depending on A, how long it's been since they've had that whatever thing, B, how deeply they have eaten of it, so to speak, right, and how great their appetite is in a given moment. But the point is that it's easy for them to succumb, if not more so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To use a kind of a terse phrase, it ain't easy to walk through a pond filled with shit and come out clean. You know
yeah, exactly.
And there's people just hucking shit at you, and the pond is, you know, an ocean. And again, I grew up in D.C. My parents weren't involved in politics. They just worked with the federal government in medicine. But I knew a bunch of alphabet soup people. You know, I knew quite a few diplomats. So I got, you know, the view that only a kid can get because you're a kid and no one cares what you think. Because you're a kid. Who gives a shit? Don't care how intelligent you are. You know, and you just look at the adults like, wow, okay. And, for example, so many times as a kid I'd see Republicans and Democrats, oh, my opponent, this, that, and he, blah, 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 and all his politics, and they seriously meant that. But then they were done. They give each other a wink and a back slap, and they go kick at a hamburger Hamlet and drink all night long and chase whores. Because that was their off-stage persona, so to speak. You know what I mean? Just like your job, you do what you do at your job, and they do at their job, and they come home. And I'm just saying, all too often, unfortunately, despite our best intents and their best intents, at the end of the day, they're human people. They shit and piss like us, put their pants on the same leg, and they're going to the ground or little vase at the end of it all, just like us. And, yeah, you got to be really, really careful with these people. really do represent your best interests as much, if not more so than theirs, because that's the whole point of politics, is to represent the people. But over the years, they just become a catch-as-catch-can at the public feeding trough.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, okay, here's, this goes more into it, okay. By the end of the Kali Yuga, the population of the whole world will be so much reduced to animalism that there will be no more power to understand what is God or what is spiritualism. And it is already there. The Kali Yuga, it will increase. People will have no power to understand this philosophy, God consciousness. So at that time, when there are no more religious principles, there was no other alternative but to kill them all. And that's not, obviously, this is the point of like ascension. You're not going to die because you are learning to understand the spirit. This is something that happens on an energetic level. That I can tell you for sure, because when I had that vision, when I was asked to open the gates, it was like I merged with God consciousness, and they asked me to do a specific thing. It was really cool to be part of it anyway. But the light that's coming through is going to destroy people who can't understand God consciousness, because the light is God consciousness. If you can love and you can hold light, your consciousness will ascend. And if it can't, it's going to destroy you from within. And those people are just in a horrible situation. And the best thing is for the sparks, which are part of God, the parts of them that are God, to be set free. And that's the view from the other side, from the spirit world. That's their view, because there are people that are stuck here in horrible situations, making their lives worse and everyone else's life worse. And there's always going to be a little conflict in the earth realm because it's part of it. But things have gotten really sticky on a planetary basis. Like, I'm now only just beginning to understand the devastation that we've created with factory farming, for instance. Apparently, most of our world is desertifying incredibly fast. And the reason is because we used to have herds of cattle that would roam all over, and they would fertilize the ground, and they would stomp around, and they would, stomp down the earth, and they would make the ground nice, and they would keep the plants growing. And because we don't do that,
it and till at the same time.
Yeah, they were like, they just stomp around until there's nothing to eat, and they move on. Yeah, and that's why we needed bison here running around. We need huge herds of bison and stuff. Just the fact that we take up that land for like wheat and corn hurts people, hurts the world, because we need that many bison out there. It's important for the balance of the world that there are these herds of different animals roaming around, but particularly cattle, because of the their fertilizer and stuff. And that's normal. Therefore, it can't really be that much of a contributor to global warming, honestly. But because they're saying that that's the cause of the desertification, is that there's nothing to roam around and, take care of the soil without even meaning to, because that's, because they're not trying to, but that's what they're doing. That's how the environment is. Everything's dependent on everything else, and that shouldn't be a surprise, but it is, But yeah, as far as evil being destroyed, that's going to happen on an energetic level. So people will destroy themselves, and the spirits that are connected to them that are dark will be destroyed with them. And if you have anything dark connected to you that you think won't hold light, if you can hold light, you'll be able to. It will hold light. Anything connected to you and spiritually, if you're a person who can hold light and love, it will hold light. And some of mine are surprised. So, so if you're like, I have demons, they can't hold light. If you can hold light, you can help those demons to hold light, and they will change into something. They're better versions of themselves. They'll just be happier, and isn't that better? Wouldn't you rather be happy? Some of them will say no, but that doesn't mean anything. They're in a very bad state of mind if they say no.
Yeah, they're stupid.
Well, they're like mentally ill people, kind of. Okay. So here we go. I'm trying to pick out a good one for you guys. Therefore, okay, I've already read that about him coming to Shambhala, because that's where he'll be born, in the inner earth. It says Shambhala village, and that's like what they're trying to say is he'll come to the inner earth. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yeah, and that's bad. We need to stop. I mean, we just need to have we can have most of what we want if we keep the population semi-low by choice, not through force, because the elites want to kill a bunch of people. If we could just keep the population a little low, we could live in complete harmony without hurting anything and have a very high standard of living. And that's and we honestly could have, I mean, it doesn't have to be that low. It doesn't have to be as low as what some people would want it to be either. That's just you can't mess up low, when they're talking about 500, 500 million, that's very low, because that's you can't mess up. Oh, thank you. Thanks, David. David's on here.
Hey, David.
Hey. All right. When the practices taught in the Vedas and the institutes of law have nearly ceased, the close of the Kali age shall be nigh. A portion of that divine being who exists in his own spiritual nature, and who is the beginning and end, and who comprehends all things, shall descend upon earth. He will be born to a family of Vishnu Yasha, basically a descendant of Vishnu, of one of his avatars, an eminent Brahmana of Shambhala village, which is the inner earth, as Kalki, endowed with 8 superhuman faculties. And in case you don't know, actually, this is pretty interesting. There are 8 superpowers, the main 8 city superpowers that are, I'm guessing that's what they're talking about, which are very interesting. Hi! There are a bunch of small superpowers, and some of them, they're called small because they're supposed to be easily obtained through meditation. And the only reason more Westerners don't have these is because Westerners don't believe it's possible. And I'm convinced of that. Because if you do start to believe, people get getting them, little telepathy, remote viewing. Some of them are pretty big, even some forms of dual location are considered minor, But the big ones are the ability to get extremely small to a pinprick, the ability to get very large. Now, those, I think, are, for us, would manifest spiritually. I don't know if they're possible to manifest. He says, hey. And for us physically, but the other ones are that the ability to get very, very heavy is one you see a lot in Chi Masters. The ability to get very light is a prerequisite for levitation. I've experienced that firsthand. I know it's possible. You can get very, very light to the point of levitation. And like I said, I'm the kind of person, if I don't know something's not true, I'm magical enough to sometimes make it happen. So when I did that levitation thing as a kid, it really worked. And I had adults doing it with me, and they were like, "This is crazy," So. Yeah, so I believe in that too. There's a couple, prakamya is the willpower to accomplish literally anything. Literally to make a crazy wish and to will it so hard that you'll make it happen. And that's a great one. Prapti is, I believe it's the underlying connections of our minds to our minds. It's the ability, you can actually manifest things out of thin air when you get to a certain level of prapti. But, so it's definitely a very advanced remote viewing, too, as well, and probably duolocate a bunch of shit. It's all connected because of the way that Prapti works. The ability, to accomplish the ability to win any battle. I have to look them up, but they're all very cool. They're all very cool powers, and he's supposed to be born with all of them. Maybe they'll be manifested at some point, and maybe they will be right away. Now, let me go down to. Oh, here we go. But I wanted to talk for a second about the appearances of some of these beings, because these are higher beings, but the avatars are only one level above us. the avatars are like what we would call